I think the Caesar Act has already achieved this goal, which is putting pressure on the Syrian regime, which led to its falls. Because even doing the normalization era that we had, especially in 2023, 2024, we've noticed in the U.S. that most of the countries that were trying to normalize with Bashar al-Assad, they were demanding the removal of Qaisar or Caesar, because Caesar was the only remaining factor that preventing these countries from fully normalizing relationship with Bashar al-Assad. There are many reasons. If we talk about why the Congress is taking time, usually Congress takes time with making decisions. Like laws in Congress doesn't get done in a year or 2 years time frame. Usually it takes long. However, there are other factors in there. Number one factor is the pressure from the Israelis to keep Syria under sanctions and to keep Syria unstabilized. And that was the request that Benjamin Netanyahu himself made to President Trump during his visit in February to Washington, D.C., where he demanded that the U.S. does not lift sanction on Syria and they leave Syria weakened because he's afraid of a strong and united Syria. The argument I'm using there, just like I said, the Israeli lobby is using minorities in Syria to say, look, I wanted to protect the minorities. The irony in this that at the same time that the Israelis want to protect minorities in Syria, they're killing and exterminating our brothers and sisters in Gaza. So this is the main factor, the Israeli lobby using some of the issues that we have in the ground. Unfortunately, the situation in Sueda, or the situation in the coastal side, they're using that as a cover for their propaganda in DC. Let me make it clear that these people, they don't represent the Syrian sectors that they're claiming to represent. Like, for example, they're not presenting or representing any minority in Syria. We know them. We've been in the U.S. We know them for 15 years. These are the same guys that they used to mobilize Congress to lift sanctions on Bashar al-Assad. The time was Bashar al-Assad using chemical weapons, besieging people, preventing bread from reaching people, and torturing people to death in Saydnaya. So these are the same people that doing that. They are using the minority cover again to try to push the Congress to keep sanctions on Syria. However, I can tell you with confidence, they have no credibility in Congress. And we've seen that in many events where they had meetings, and these meetings didn't lead to anything. We know the AIPAC is the largest and strongest lobby in D.C. This is no secret. Everyone who lives in D.C. or everyone who's involved in politics, they know that AIPAC, they have a strong voice in Congress specifically. And they're using this voice now to keep sanctions on Syria. Again, as I said, because this is Israeli requirements from the Israeli government that Syria remain sanctions, remain fragile, remain unsecured. So they're using the minorities from the Assad's remittance people that they were in the U.S. or in Europe. They're using them and supporting them now in Congress to keep sanctions on Syria. Now, of course, lifting sanctions, it has its conditions, and one of them is, yes, to protect human rights. It also requires the Syrian government to investigate the crimes that been committed since December 8th from both sides, and have accountability for these crimes, so we make sure they don't happen again. The requirements in sanctions, I think, they are requirements that the Syrian government already working on. They are not something that they can't do. For example, they have open investigations in the coastal, and they have opened Syria to the international organizations to come and investigate these crimes and come and monitor the situation in Syria in general, not only in the coastal side and Sueda. So the Syrian government already taking these steps and responding to not only the Congress but the international community's requirements, also requirements of us as Syrians. We want accountability in Syria. We want protection of all Syrian people. We want Syria to be one and free for all Syrians.